Let's say you need a new car, but you don't need it immediately. You're not normally a car person, but now you're invested. You overhear your coworkers talking about cars, and they mention a model you've never heard of before. Then suddenly you start noticing this model has high ratings on all the review sites, your kids have toys of it, your neighbor has one in their driveway, your boss drives one to work, you're on your way home from work, and you're driving next to one of these cars. You've never heard of this car before, and suddenly it's everywhere. What gives? So you've never seen a thing, then you recently learned about a thing, or you saw it for the first time, and now you're seeing it everywhere. That's the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon, more commonly known as the frequency illusion. Nobody really knows why it's called the Baader-Meinhof Phenomenon. The Baader-Meinhof group is actually a left-wing, late 20th century militant group from West Germany. Yeah. And now, along with every single other video or article about this topic, I'm going to make a prediction. You've either recently learned about the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, or you're going to be hearing about it very soon. The reason that the frequency illusion happens is because of our brain's own prejudice towards patterns. Now, our brain is a fantastic pattern recognizing machine, which is a characteristic highly useful for learning, but it does cause the brain to lend excessive importance towards events that are highly unremarkable. Considering just how many words, names, and ideas a person is exposed to in any given day, it is unsurprising that we sometimes encounter the same information again within a short time period. When that short intersection does occur, the brain promotes that information because the two instances can make up the beginning of a sequence. What we fail to notice are the hundreds of thousands of other pieces of data that aren't repeated because they fail to conform to an interesting pattern to us. Now, this tendency to ignore the uninteresting data is an example of selective attention. In other words, you may have seen this car hundreds of times, even in just last month, but your brain just wasn't interested. A similar effect, I've heard it called the blue car effect, is more commonly known as the observer expectancy effect. An example, and the reason I know it as the blue car effect, is this. Somebody tells you that there will be an unusual amount of blue cars on the road today, and suddenly, hey, you're driving home from work, and there are a bunch of blue cars. But without the prompting, you would have never come to that conclusion yourself. The observer expectancy effect. I won't go into too much detail, but both the observer expectancy effect and the frequency illusion are caused by two other phenomena working together. There's the recency effect, which is a cognitive bias that places more importance on recent information and observations. And then there's the confirmation bias, which is the part of your brain that's telling you you do have the belief that you really are seeing this new thing all over the place, or hey, there really are a lot of blue cars on the road. The crazy thing about the confirmation bias is that it can kick into effect after only seeing the stimuli one or two times after learning about it, contributing to the frequency illusion. That fact can cause us to place an unnecessary importance on patterns that we may have even manufactured ourselves. Now, that's not always the case. We could just be looking for a bunch of people wearing a red dress, but that's also part of the mathematical nuances of the universe, like the Fibonacci sequence in a seashell. So while one person is seeing a new car over and over and over, another person is noticing that, hey, a squared plus b squared equals c squared in these triangles. Personally, I think it's a pretty cool idea that the frequency illusion can turn our passive experiences of repeatedly seeing the same thing over and over into an active search for new stimuli in the forms of patterns of the universe. I'm going to end it with a cliche. If you've never seen or heard about this phenomenon before, be sure to watch out for it in the next few days. You'll see it all over. Bye, guys.